Emma was a sweet 9-year-old girl with big brown eyes and curly hair. Every day after school, she walked home with her purple lunchbox swinging in her hand. She didn't talk much, but everyone who knew her said she had a big heart. One chilly afternoon, the sky was gray and the wind was cold. Emma walked a little faster than usual, her sweater pulled tight. As she passed the park near her street, she saw something that made her slow down. A man was sitting alone on a bench, wrapped in a thin, dirty blanket. His clothes were torn, his face unshaven, and his eyes looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. People walked by him without looking, some even crossed to the other side of the path. Emma stopped. She opened her lunchbox. Inside was half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She had eaten the other half during lunch at school. She looked at the man, then at her sandwich. Slowly, she walked toward him. The man looked up, surprised. He didn't say anything at first. Maybe he thought she would run away like the others. But Emma didn't run. She stood in front of him and held out the sandwich with both hands. "It's fresh," she said shyly. "You can have it." The man blinked. His hands trembled slightly as he took the sandwich. "You don't have to," he said softly. Emma smiled. "I want to." He looked at the sandwich, then back at Emma. "You remind me of someone I lost," he whispered. Emma tilted her head. "Was it your daughter?" The man didn't answer right away. He just nodded slowly. Emma didn't want to make him sad, so she said kindly, "I hope you feel better." Then she waved and turned around, walking back toward the street. The man watched her go. Something in his chest felt warm again, something he hadn't felt in many years. That night, Emma sat at the dinner table with her mom, eating spaghetti and telling her about school. She didn't mention the sandwich. She didn't think it was a big deal. But somewhere not far from there, under a broken bus stop, the homeless man sat quietly, holding something in his hands. It was an old photo, worn and faded. In the photo, a little girl smiled up at the camera. She had big brown eyes and curly hair. She looked just like Emma. The man wiped a tear from his cheek. His hands still smelled faintly of peanut butter and jelly. Back at Emma's house, the lights were turned off one by one. Her mom kissed her goodnight, tucked her into bed, and turned off the lamp. Emma stared at the ceiling for a moment, thinking about the man on the bench. She hoped he had a warm place to sleep. She didn't know what her small act of kindness had started. She didn't know that tomorrow morning, someone would knock on their front door, and nothing would be the same again. The sun rose slowly over the neighborhood. Birds chirped in the trees, and light poured into Emma's room through the curtains. She yawned, stretched, and jumped out of bed. Today felt like any other school morning. She brushed her teeth, put on her favorite sweater, and packed her lunchbox again, this time with a full sandwich. She even added a cookie, thinking she might share it with someone at school. Downstairs, her mom, Mrs. Carter, was busy making coffee and folding laundry. The house was calm. Until, Enoch, Enoch. A loud knock echoed through the house. Emma and her mom looked at each other. Another knock came. Firm, slow, serious. Mrs. Carter walked toward the door, a little confused. She wasn't expecting anyone. She opened it and froze. 2 police officers stood on the porch. A tall man with a stern face and a woman officer beside him, holding a small notepad. Mrs. Carter's heart skipped a beat. "Can I help you?" she asked, suddenly worried. The male officer spoke. "Good morning, ma'am. We're looking for a little girl, around 9 years old. Curly hair, brown eyes. Name might be Emma?" Emma peeked from behind her mom's leg. Mrs. Carter frowned. "That's my daughter. What is this about?" The officers exchanged a glance. "We need to ask her a few questions," the woman officer said gently. "It's about an incident in the park yesterday." Emma stepped forward. "Did I do something wrong?" The officer's expressions softened a little. "Not at all," the man said. "But something happened after you left the park." Mrs. Carter looked uneasy. "Officers, I'd like to know exactly why you're here. You're scaring us." The woman officer nodded and lowered her voice. "It's about a man your daughter spoke to, a homeless man." Emma's eyes widened. "The man I gave my sandwich to?" "Yes, The officer said, "Something happened last night, and your daughter might be the key to understanding it." They all sat in the living room. The coffee on the table grew cold as the officers explained. The man Emma had helped was John Blake, a former soldier, a man who had once been declared missing during a mission. He was believed to be dead until yesterday. "Your daughter's kindness may have saved him," the officer said. "But now we need to know, did he say anything else to you?" Emma thought hard. "He said I reminded him of someone he lost. I think he meant a daughter." The officers nodded slowly. "That's what we thought," the woman whispered. "There's more to this story than you know." Outside, a dark car waited on the street. Inside it, someone watched the house carefully, someone not wearing a police uniform. But Emma didn't see him. She only remembered the man's tired eyes, and the way he looked at her like she mattered. And now the police were here. Something was happening. Something big. Night fell quietly over the Carter home. Emma had gone to bed early. Her small face was calm, curled up under a warm blanket with her teddy bear beside her. She didn't understand everything the police said, but she hoped the man from the park was okay. Downstairs, her mom was still awake, pacing the living room. The words from the police wouldn't leave her mind. "Your daughter may be the key." Mrs. Carter didn't know what that meant. How could a simple sandwich mean so much? Suddenly, storech, slide, taump. A soft sound came from the front door. She turned quickly. A white envelope had just been slipped under the door. Mrs. Carter walked over slowly, her hands cold with fear. She bent down and picked it up. There was no name, no stamp, just a single word written in shaky letters. "Emma." Her heart pounded. She tore it open. Inside the envelope was a black and white photograph and a small military badge. She stared at the photo. It showed a man in uniform, much younger than the one Emma saw in the park, but his eyes were the same. Beside him stood a little girl. She was holding his hand, smiling, curly hair, big brown eyes. She looked exactly like Emma. Mrs. Carter dropped onto the couch. Her hands trembled. It felt like the air had gone out of the room. The military badge inside the envelope had numbers on it, and one single name. Captain Jonathan Blake. She whispered, "That's the man. That's the man from the park." Just then, the house phone rang. It was late, too late for regular calls. Mrs. Carter picked it up, her voice shaking. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then a deep voice said, "I don't mean to scare you, but Emma is more important than you know." Mrs. Carter gasped. "Who is this?" But the line clicked. The call ended. She stood frozen, still holding the photo. Upstairs, Emma rolled over in bed. She mumbled softly in her sleep. Downstairs, her mom sat on the couch, staring at the picture of the girl who looked like her daughter, standing next to a soldier who had vanished from the world and suddenly returned. The next morning, Mrs. Carter rushed to the police station. She showed them the letter. The police officers looked at the photo and badge carefully. "This is real," the woman officer said. "Captain Blake was listed NIA for almost 10 years. The male officer added, "But there's something strange. We checked the database. Captain Blake had a daughter. She died in an accident 8 years ago." Mrs. Carter's eyes widened. Then why does Emma look just like her? That evening, Emma sat at the window, looking outside. She didn't know the truth that was unfolding around her. But somewhere in the city, a man in a torn coat and tired eyes looked up at the stars. He held the second copy of the same photo in his hand, and for the first time in years he smiled. The next morning, the sun was shining bright, but the air was thick with worry. Emma sat quietly at the kitchen table, eating her breakfast. Her mom watched her closely, her mind racing with questions. The police had asked Mrs. Carter to bring Emma to the station for a simple DNA test. They wanted to confirm if Emma was related to Captain Jonathan Blake. Mrs. Carter agreed, hoping to find answers. A police car drove slowly through the streets, with Emma and the two officers inside. Emma looked out the window, curious but nervous. Suddenly, from behind a corner, a black SUV appeared fast and stopped right in front of the police car, blocking the way. The police car screeched to a halt. Emma's eyes grew wide. The windows of the SUV rolled down. A tall man with sharp eyes stepped out. He wore a dark coat and had a serious, almost angry look. He walked calmly toward the police car's window. "I'm afraid she's not safe with you," the man said quietly but firmly. The police officers looked at each other, surprised. The woman officer reached for her radio, but the man raised his hand. "Listen," he said, "there are people who want to keep the truth hidden. Emma needs protection." Emma's mom felt a chill run down her spine. "Who are you?" she asked, voice trembling. The man smiled sadly. "My name is Agent Morgan. I work for a special unit. We protect families like yours." Before anyone could say more, the man handed Mrs. Carter a small device, a card with a phone number. "Call me if you want answers. But be careful who you trust." The police officers were silent but uneasy. Slowly, the black SUV turned and drove away. Emma looked up at her mom. "What is going on?" she whispered. Mrs. Carter hugged her tightly. "I promise, sweetheart, I will find out the truth, no matter what." That night, Emma had a strange dream. She was standing in a large field under a sky full of stars. A man in uniform appeared beside her, the same man from the photo. He smiled and said, "I'm coming back for you, Emma." Emma woke up with a start. Her heart was pounding. The next morning, Emma got ready for school, but she felt nervous. At school, everything seemed normal at first. Emma smiled and played with her friends during recess. But then, a new man walked into the school. He looked serious and wore a dark jacket. He'd asked the teacher questions about Emma, her family, and where she lived. The teacher looked worried, but did not say much. Emma's friends noticed the stranger watching her closely. Some whispered quietly to each other. One friend, Mia, came close and said in a low voice, "Emma, be careful. I heard someone say, don't trust anyone." Emma's heart beat faster. She didn't understand why people were acting strange. During lunch, Emma tried to ignore the feeling of being watched, but she kept seeing the stranger's eyes following her. After school, Emma told her mom about the man. Mrs. Carter's face grew serious. "We need to be very careful," she said. "Someone wants to find you or protect you. We don't know which." Emma felt scared, but also curious. Why was the stranger so interested in her? What secret was hidden in her family? That night, Emma looked at the photo of the man in uniform again. She wished she could know the whole truth. It was late at night when a loud knock shook the front door of the Carter house. Emma and her mom were startled. They weren't expecting anyone. Mrs. Carter opened the door slowly. Two police officers stood there, serious and quiet. "We have news about your father," one officer said softly. Emma's heart raced. "My dad? What news?" The officer looked at Mrs. Carter. "Captain Jonathan Blake. He is alive." Emma's eyes grew wide with hope and confusion. "How? But everyone said he disappeared years ago." The officer nodded. "He was part of a secret mission. That's why no one knew where he was. But now, he's back and wants to see Emma." Suddenly, the doorbell rang again. This time, a tall man in uniform stood outside. It was Captain Blake. Emma ran to him, tears in her eyes. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said softly, holding her close. Mrs. Carter smiled, relieved and happy. The mystery was over. Emma's family was finally whole again.